Welcome to the Resurrection Church podcast. My name is Bradley Cox. I'm the pastor at Res Church in Greer, South Carolina. We're glad for all the Res family joining us today, and whoever else might happen across this podcast. Glad that you're joining us. We're beginning today kind of a series of podcasts that are going to come out over the next several weeks that are going to feature what we call our strategic ministry partners. These are individual missionaries, missions organizations, as well as ministries here at home that Res Church supports, ministries that are, preaching and proclaiming the gospel and also meeting real needs in different parts of the world. And so I'm glad to have for the first one, a longtime friend, Jamie Dunning, who's with us today. Jamie, thanks for doing this. I know you got an incredibly busy schedule. You're on a quick furlough, as it were, but thanks for being with us, man.
Oh, of course. I'm happy that it worked out. We're always open and ready to meet with you guys, see you, talk to you, connect. We appreciate Res Church so much. And so any opportunity to connect with you, we're always ready.
What's the count, Jamie? How long have we been friends?
You would I know I was in university at Emmanuel College, and you and Mary came.
So that would have been 01.
Yeah, 2001. Yeah. So that's when we first met.
25 years ago. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah, you were our choir director.
That's right. That's right. And your wife, just so people know, your wife is actually like, what is it? Is it first cousin once removed, or I'm not sure how all that works.
I think that your granddads were brothers.
We're brothers. Right? That's right.
Whatever that means.
Somebody else can figure that out. I can't ever get that straight in my head. So how's Jessica?
Yeah.
How's Jessica doing? How's your wife doing?
Yeah, she's great. She, of course, happy this week. We've been with her family in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for this week. We leave tomorrow. And so this trip this summer was a bit of a bonus trip. We weren't planning on coming, and I needed to come for a conference. And so she's just, as we all have, really enjoyed this kind of bonus week of seeing family. We typically see family every couple years, but this was a nice little 1 year come home and be with family for a week on each side. So she's doing well, happy to be here, happy to spend time with her family for a bit.
And Ethan and Sophie, how are they?
Yeah, doing great. Ethan is just finished middle school, ready for high school, or he says he is. I'm not sure. We'll see. But no, he's going into 9th grade. Sophie's going into 11th grade. They're super active and involved in different types of ministry. They go to a Christian international school, so they're both in their worship team and service clubs, but also very heavily involved in sports and music. And so, yeah, they stay busy, but they're doing well.
You're glad to hear it, man. Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine that there are lots of people listening to this that are familiar with you guys, at least somewhat. And then we have a lot of new folks at Res Church that may not know anything about you. And Res Church has been supporting you and Jessica and your family as missionaries at least 10 years. Am I right?
I think you guys started in 2014. Yeah.
So it's been 12 years.
Yeah, 12 years.
Yeah. So that's amazing that we've been in partnership with you guys that long. And I love what you do, Jamie. And what I want you to do is just take a minute. For some people, this is going to be like a refresher on what you and Jessica are called to do, sort of generally and broadly. And for some, this is going to be brand new information about one of our strategic ministry partners. So give us kind of like the big picture banner. What are Jamie and Jessica up to and where?
Yeah. We're based in Nairobi, Kenya, where we've lived since 2008. So we're just coming up on our 18th or finishing our 18th year in Nairobi. And as we've been there, our work and our ministry has kind of, shifted and evolved and grown. And so Our primary focus now is that we serve as the East Africa directors of People to People Ministries, which is a ministry. It's kind of the humanitarian development arm of World Missions Ministries. And
Mm.
so we partner with ministries of the local church. So those can be community development initiatives, feeding programs, schools, any type of ministry that is housed, it kind of comes, ministry that comes out of local churches that are meeting very real needs in their communities. And so we partner with these ministries throughout East Africa. We've been working primarily in Kenya, but also doing humanitarian relief and disaster relief in Congo and Burundi and Rwanda. We have some programs in Ethiopia, and just coming alongside the local church, investing in the work that they're doing, not really going in to start or create programs, but to come alongside the local church and to empower them and invest in them and walk alongside them to help them better serve the kingdom, to better serve their communities, to better fulfill the ministries that God's called them to do.
Mm.
And so we have partnerships throughout East Africa, and that would be our primary focus. Jessica also has a full-time job working at Roslyn Academy, which is an international Christian school that I mentioned. Our children go there. She's the director of communications and sits on the executive leadership team there. Just does phenomenal work in that institution. I have a part-time role there as service learning coordinator, so I get to create these incredible opportunities for those students from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade to go into Kenyan communities, to partner with communities, learn from communities, and to serve and share the love of Christ with people in partnership with these local ministries throughout Kenya. And so I do that as well. And then just in the last month, I've agreed to take on the regional director role for the larger organization that we're a part of, World Missions Ministries. So working with the church leaders and pastors of 1,800 churches throughout East Africa. Many of these leaders I've had the opportunity to already work with through humanitarian relief and development projects, but now the scope of that will grow a bit. And as we are working with all of these churches, all of these pastors, and trying to position them in a way that how can they holistically meet the needs of their communities? How can they offer spiritual health and spiritual renewal and offer salvation, introduce people to Jesus and share the gospel? But then also, how can they provide support for people's physical well-being and for people's emotional well-being? How can they help meet very real needs in countries where people experience, great challenges? And so what we are seeing and what we've always seen is that the local church is the answer to many of the problems, all of the problems that people face. And these local churches are full of faithful people who just want to share the gospel, share the love of Jesus, and help in whatever way they can. And so our mission and vision has been to come alongside them, to partner with them, support them, do whatever we can to help them grow and sustain their ministries. As we're seeing more and more people come to know Jesus, more and more people receiving much needed food and water and relief and medications and whatever the needs may be, seeing that those local churches be the hands and feet of Jesus. So we're looking at an opportunity now of kind of widening the net a bit, working with almost 2,000 churches throughout East Africa. But it's a really great opportunity, and we're excited to see what God's going to do.
This is what I love about you. I saw this in you, probably 25 years ago, even when you were a college student, is that you're a high capacity guy. I think your wife is also high capacity. I mean, just listening to you talk about all that you have your hands in, it seems massive. It seems like it's a lot. But the Lord seems to have gifted you to be able to, I think about Barnabas in scripture. He seemed to be a guy who was a dot connector. Was able to sort of get in and assess the situation and be strategic. He gets to Antioch and he goes, you know what? Paul is needed here, goes and gets him. what is that kind of like in a general level again, is that what it's like for you? Like you go to these, you got a net of 2,000 churches, but you go to these churches and you see what the Lord is already leading them to do, and you come in at the strategic level, the leadership level. Is that kind of what you feel like the Lord's called you to do in those situations?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, that would be a great way to kind of describe it. Like many of these churches, they are led by pastors and leaders and community members who have these incredible hearts and vision, and God is using them. Um, but of course, they face challenges. And so we see ourselves kind of as a bridge from those local communities to this global body that we are representatives of, being a connecting point. And then through that, through partnership, in some ways being leaders, but really a lot of times it's just being partners, sitting at a table together, having conversations. Usually in East Africa, it's over cups of chai, tea, and
Mm-hmm.
just getting to know one another, building relationship, seeing what God's doing, where their hearts are, what their vision is, and then just dreaming with them. How can we help these dreams to come to fruition? What are the things that are going well? What are the things that can be improved? What are and as you said, kind of the dots that can be connected. And so for us, yeah, it's just an incredible opportunity to come alongside great work that's happening. When we first kind of made this transition into ministry, the one of the, I guess, examples that I would kind of use is this idea of like, if you're familiar with it, but if you give a man a fish, they eat for a day. If you teach a man to fish, they can feed themselves for the rest of their lives. I really feel like that is incomplete and inaccurate, though, because truthfully, in the work that we do, I'm not called and I'm not able to teach these people that we work with how to fish. They
Huh.
know they know how to fish. They're capable of fishing. They're far more capable and qualified to fish than I am, because they're in their contexts and their communities, and they're of the community and in the community, and they experience what their communities experience. So they, in many cases, know how to fish. What they need is, they might need, to keep the analogy going, they need access to better fishing equipment. And in some situations, they've been cut off from the pond, and they need to have better access to the pond, and they need repairs. And sometimes they, might need some training on how to fine tune the skills they already have. But I think really we see ourselves as not people coming with answers, but just coming to be on the shores of the lake together and figure it out, if that makes sense.
I love that. I mean, I think that's just amazing. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you also have, like, in addition to coming in, you have a background, you have training in microfinance, and I think you even have a master's degree in that. And you might need to explain to our listeners what that even means. But is that something you're still doing?
Yeah. So I, kind of took a long journey to get there, but originally I studied biblical studies, and then I got a degree in education. I was a teacher for a while in the U.S., and actually our first few years in Kenya as well, and got a master's in education. And then when I transitioned from education to full-time missions work, my heart was kind of in this area of development and relief, but through the local church. And I realized I had a heart for it and I had a passion for it, but I was limited in my skills and ability. And so I went back to university and got a master's in international development. And that really helped me, just get some experience with some of the professors I worked with, some of the other people in my courses, to learn from their experiences, to just get some like education that backed my heart, to be better equipped to, know how to go into these communities, to sit with these churches and these ministries, and then to have, more awareness of what actually could be possible, and how to, take these the vision that they have and the ministries that they're doing, and how do we get them to the next level. That master's degree really was critical for helping me to kind of get to the point where I actually have something to offer. Yeah.
Wow, that's so good. All right, so maybe we've talked about it broadly. Give us like, I don't know, a story of one or two projects that you're currently working on that uh, would really just help the people sink their teeth into what this actually looks like on the ground.
Yeah. So I'll just give the most recent project that we've been working on that I was just there just about a month before coming on this trip. So we are working with our partner churches in Democratic Republic of Congo. It's been in the news a lot recently because of the Ebola breakout.
Yep.
And that's in the eastern part of the country where a lot of our partners and churches and the work is happening. And so in late March, just before the outbreak, actually, I was able to go in. It's not an easy country to get into, but we also work in Burundi. And so I was able to go into Burundi and then cross the border with my partner in Burundi into the Congo. And so Congo is one of these countries that just, if you can think of challenges that people may face, they have faced them. They have had years of civil war and conflict. Recently, you've had conflict between the government and rebel factions, M23. The eastern part of the country has just been decimated by conflict and war. They periodically have these Ebola breakouts that just are devastating. This one currently has been really, really bad. There's large levels of poverty. Not the infrastructure in certain places is better than others, but it's not extremely developed. It's just a place where people face many, many challenges. But what we've been encouraged by is, especially when I visited, is that we have churches that are on the ground that are committed to being the hands and feet of Jesus, to loving their communities, to being a place where people can find refuge. And so over the last year, because of this conflict, you've had thousands and thousands of Congolese refugees have fled, and they've crossed over into Burundi and other neighboring countries. So kind of a twofold response of like an example of what this looks like is our churches that we partner with in Burundi, whenever they realized that thousands of Congolese refugees were coming over the border, the first thing they thought is, okay, we are the church. We need to be ready to receive them. And so they had the vision of, we want to be in a position to go into the refugee camps and to do food relief. And so our Burundian churches, through them, we've been doing food relief in refugee camps for Congolese refugees. Over time, as that became a regular part of the rhythm, the Burundian pastors and leaders realized, well, these camps are going to become their permanent homes. They need community. They need churches. And so our Burundian pastors and church members started planting churches for the Congolese in Congolese refugee camps. And then those churches have become the centers of our food distributions. And so in all of these, not in all, but many of these camps now, we have planted churches. We have Congolese, and of course, many of these Congolese refugees, they have come from churches. They have people that have worked in churches and been leaders in churches. So naturally, they're already rising up in leadership. And so we've got these well-established churches where people that have lost everything, they've lost their homes, they've lost, in many cases, their families, their life has been decimated by war. They're now living in these, temporary camps in another country, but yet they found community through a local church that has been planted for them. And they're having a place to worship. They're having a place to build community and to receive much needed food and water rations through our church. And so that's a beautiful example of ways that we're coming alongside our churches in Burundi. And then that's kind of the starting point. And then we start looking at how can we help develop some income generating activities, some micro business opportunities for these communities. And all of this is done in partnership and through, our local church leaders. Well, then on the Congolese side, I'm visiting the churches there, and I just asked, like, why did you stay? Like, so many people have fled. Why have you stayed? And every single leader had the same answer. well, we're the church. We have to be here for the people that remain. And so, coming alongside those churches, we're doing outreach to widows and orphans that have been affected by the war, those in the community that are most vulnerable. And all of this is being done through local churches. And so people know that, this church is a place where I can find acceptance and I can find care and I can find love. And most importantly, I can find Jesus. And so that's just one example of how countries on both sides of a border, churches, on both sides of a border, are just doing incredible work for the gospel and for the kingdom. And yeah, we're just excited to kind of come alongside and be a part in whatever way we can. And then in Congo and Burundi, we've got kind of long-term vision, step by step, of how we want to continue building on what begins as relief. Hopefully we want it to turn into full-on development programs that are, bettering people's lives. But one thing that I did come across in my studies when I got my master's, because it was through a Christian university, is there was a recent study done on the impact of doing relief and development through local churches. And what the study found is that local churches in these communities are just as effective at development programs, development initiatives, relief, as the major, huge NGOs, but they do it at a fraction of the cost.
Wow.
Often the approach of development organizations, and I have no problem with development organizations. I'm a strong believer in having as many as we can. But often the approach of development organizations is you have outsiders that come in and implement programs that are, the experts implement programs on the ground for people that are in need. And that can be effective, but it comes at tremendous cost. And often there are things that those organizations, aren't aware of after they learn over time. The beautiful thing about the local church is they are of the community. They are the community. Any work that they are, any area that they are working and are focusing on, they're affected by it. They're impacted by it. Like it's not something they are imposing on others. It is kind of, they're a part of it. And so it's incredible. And that's something that seems obvious, but I think that was one thing that just confirmed, like, working through local churches. Not only is it effective, not only is it an incredible way to holistically minister, but it also can be done at a much lower price. I think one study said 4% of the cost with the same impact. And so, yeah, that's just kind of in a nutshell our approach.
4% of the cost. Did I hear that right?
That's right. A friend of mine, he works for a Christian development organization in Sweden called PMU, and he's the one that did that study, and they found that local churches can have the same impact as big NGOs at 4% the cost. So
it's amazing.
Yeah, that's our heart. That's ultimately, we want people to come to know Jesus. But it's, for some people, it can be hard to be open to the gospel message when you're hungry, or when you've just lost your family, or when there's disease running rampant. And so in East Africa, the gospel is a holistic message. It's a spiritual message, but it's also physical and emotional. And so, yeah, we just want to help equip and empower local churches to holistically meet those needs as much as possible.
Well, you've been on the ground doing this for a long time, and I love that. I love, ministry has to happen in context. It has to happen in context. And I think what seems to be true of every context, though, is that the local church is the epicenter of what God is, how he's expanding his kingdom. And so I think everybody in our church should be excited to partner with the Dunnings in what's going on in East Africa. Now, you mentioned this, what's going on in the Congo, Burundi, like, you have a project fund as well as when people give to the Dunnings, there's support for you guys, but there's also a project fund. Talk about that project fund. Like where are you at with that, and like, what are some maybe major needs that you have right now that uh, need don't just need like wisdom, strategy, support from you, but they also need money. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just bottom line. Even though it's 4% of the cost, it's still cost. So maybe tell us about what some of those needs are.
Yeah. As you said, we have through our, organization, we have a website where we raise for personal support. We've been fortunate that that's something that God has been very faithful, and it's not something that we have to stress or worry about too much. And so we're grateful for that. But we also have an account that is strictly for ministry and outreach and projects that 100% of the funds that come into it, we can put directly back into communities. And so right now, probably the biggest needs, and maybe it's just because it's what's most on my heart and on my mind, is the outreach that we're doing in Congo and Burundi through relief with what's going on in Congo with Ebola, where we're kind of waiting to see what this is going to mean in regards to additionally what we want to do through our humanitarian assistance that we've been doing through the churches. But that's an area that I really see in the next year putting a lot of focus and emphasis. It's a country, even within our region, within the organization, Congo has always kind of, and no fault or no one's fault, but it's kind of gotten forgotten. It's just it's harder to get to, it's harder to communicate with. There's less infrastructure, and so that's really an area I feel a strong leading to really try to invest and pour into, and a lot of that is going to start and build through this relief and humanitarian assistance through these local churches for people that have been affected, both in Congo and for the refugees in Burundi. We also in Rwanda, our churches in Rwanda have faced a lot of trials with the current government. And so currently, all of our partner churches officially can't meet in the country of Rwanda. So what they're doing is they've started just unofficial house churches. And it's very New Testament stuff. They're meeting in homes. Often they don't even come together. Last year I was in Kigali, Rwanda on a Sunday, and I got to visit one. I was with the pastor in his house and family, and he had a cell phone on the coffee table, and there was a call, and about 50 people were on the call, and
Wow.
he had it muted, and we were all singing, and then he invited me to share a word, and I did, and then he systematically went through and would unmute and mute every person to give them a chance to share joys and struggles and challenges and prayer requests. And for a few hours, we just sat there and listened to all of this community that are all in different places. They can't come together officially, but they're still finding ways to be the church for each other.
That's
And
amazing.
then we pray over those together. And so they're finding a way to continue being the church. And so one thing that we are doing there is through my primary partner there, his name is Clement. We've started several sustainable development and income generating activities for the pastors of these communities, because they're still being pastors. They're still, leading people and serving people. They're doing visits every week. But when you don't have an actual church building, there's absolutely no income for these guys. And so we're doing a lot of different agricultural projects, income generating activities to try to just help them sustain their livelihoods as they continue serving people through these house church models. And then through the house churches, as needs arise, still wanting them to be in a position to respond to needs in their communities, even though they're not they can't operate as a formal church. And then out of that, we have several feeding programs for children, vulnerable children within these communities as well. So I think just, I could unfortunately talk all day on different needs and projects and things, but I think those would be a very strong focus right now, is the needs in Congo and Burundi, the work we're doing there, and then these projects that we're getting going to support those churches in Rwanda.
Yeah. I love the fact that you could keep going and going because I mean, it, I don't feel like you're spread out too thin. I just think the Lord is using you in a connecting kind of way. And so there's a lot to talk about and that, you know, that, I don't know, that does my heart good when I think about our partnership together, in prayer and in support. I imagine, you know, speaking of, you could go on all day. There's a lot more people could find out online. Like maybe tell the folks where they could go to learn more about what you and your wife are doing.
Yeah, so we have a little website set up, Dunnings in Kenya. So DUNNINGSIN Kenya .com. I try to periodically post, usually once every couple, 2 to 3 months, just updates on, just the work that's going on, some updates on some projects, some current needs. Usually within those posts, I'll have links if someone does feel led to give to a specific project. From those links, you can get to the giving website if people are interested in that. I used to do family updates on that as well, but as our kids became teenagers, they were like,
We don't
don't
want
really
everybody knowing.
they didn't want their whole lives on display. Sophie was like, Dad, guys at school are like finding our website and they know
Oh
way more
man.
about it. So so I guess, I don't know, 6 months ago, I started, I'll send to our partners that have requested, I'll send a family update via email.
Yeah.
And that's got some updates on the kids and photos, and then a link for our work update on the website. You can check the website anytime, but if anyone is interested in being added on that mailing list where they get family updates and then reminders when we update the website, our email is the same as the website, dunningsinkenya@gmail.com. So if you want to shoot me an email, I'd be happy to add you to our mailing list.
Cool. Last thing I want to say, ask you, Jamie, is how can we as a church pray for you and your family? Like maybe one or two things that would really be good for us to partner with you in prayer.
Yeah, I think specifically for our family, you've kind of mentioned the um, full plate and capacity and feeling spread thin. Like we feel very grateful that we don't necessarily feel that, but with me adding this new RD position, the regional director, it is going to add quite a bit. And I wrestled with it. And at first I actually turned it down, if I'm being honest, just because I didn't necessarily, my initial thought was there isn't capacity or time for it. But I felt very strongly after prayer, and Jessica did too, that at least for the foreseeable next year or two, that is something we should take on and trust. And then in the process, maybe we'll feel that there are certain things that we're supposed to release and give up. Or maybe we'll see that it all goes hand in hand and integrates really well. But I do think between that for me and Jessica with her work at Roslyn and now sitting on the executive leadership team, her role is growing next year as well. And so just for wisdom for us, for a capacity, of course, that we will have capacity that will have the energy we need to do what we need to do, but also wisdom to know, sometimes are there going to be times that we need to say no, or are there going to be times when we need to back out of some things, or, just for wisdom in that. I think that would be the biggest thing for us as a family, especially as, we're realizing Sophie has two more years of high school, and then she'll be somewhere in university without us. And so those 2 years coming up, but then also thinking, adding in these other elements and pieces, just wanting to make sure we're wise and we say yes to what we need to say yes to, and we say no to what we need to say no to, and that we have a very clear sense of what that is. And then just for grace to hold it all and be faithful.
That's awesome, man. Well, we're honored to partner with you in prayer and in support. And Res family, the details for this year's Res Missions offering, a good portion of which is going to go to Jamie and Jessica Dunning, is in the e-blast already. It's you can. We're going to be talking about it on Sunday morning as well. How you can give, where you can give, when you can give. But we just wanted Jamie, for the church to, again, some to be refreshed and others to be introduced for the first time to what you guys are doing. And we love you. We hope you have a great short visit home with family, and certainly give our love to Jessica and Sophie and Ethan as soon as you can.
We'll do it. And I mean, of course, I want to say to the Res family, like, we love and appreciate you guys so much. As we said earlier, 2014, I remember making a call to Bradley at the time. It was you and Seth. You invited us to come share, and every month, and sometimes multiple times a month since then, you guys have faithfully stood with us and supported us, and not only financially, but also through prayer. We've been able to come and be with you guys every couple of years, and that's always life-giving for us to be with you. Hopefully next summer we'll have the chance to do that.
Absolutely.
We love and appreciate you guys for standing with us, for being a part of what God's doing in East Africa. We're so grateful.
Well, I want to tell you this. This is the last thing, I promise. There's a couple, and you know who I'm talking about, and a lot of people in our church know who I'm talking about. I won't mention their names. They are in their 90s. And they moved to Florida to be closer to their children at this stage of life. But they've been big financial supporters of yours. And about once every couple of months, I get a text from him. How are the Dunnings? That's all it says. It's just, how are the Dunnings ? And I'll type back what I know. And, he might give me back a great or something like that. That's as far as it goes. But he thinks, he and his wife think about you guys all the time. And I just wanted to share that with you.
No, that's amazing. Like, that's the I think the incredible part of this network that we get to be a part of is just knowing that there are people in their 90s in Florida that are a part of what God's doing in Congo. And that how he interconnects people all over the globe for his purposes. And it means so much to us just to know that people are thinking of us, people are praying for us. It's so good. So we appreciate it so much.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you. It's an honor to partner with you guys. And Res Church family, just want to thank you for joining us. And if you're not a part of the Res Church family, you happened across this podcast, take my word for what it's worth. The Dunnings in Kenya, fertile soil. Give as the Lord leads you. Thanks for joining us.